Hey everyone, and welcome back to House of Mystery. Today I want to take a look at all the books that I want to read this fall. Now, somewhere around after Thanksgiving, I hope to start reading my Christmas mysteries that I have planned. So this is kind of a tall order to try to get all these books in before then, but I think I have 9. But if you have read these, please let me know which ones are worth my time, maybe which ones to skip over, which ones I should prioritize. And if you haven't read these, then listen up so you can hear what they're all about. I hope you enjoy, so let's get started. So my first book is an Agatha Christie called After the Funeral. Now, I have a lot of Agatha Christie. I've read about half of what I have, and she is, as the book says here, the queen of mystery. She's always a good time for a read. She's a little bit different, a little bit darker than a cozy mystery, but her details are so intricate. Her plots are so great. It always keeps me guessing. And when I looked up the most underrated Agatha Christie books, this was one of the top 5. It was originally published in the UK under the title Funerals Are Fatal, which I think is interesting that they switched the name. That actually happened with several Agatha Christie books. So, in this book, you have a family who has gathered for the reading of a will. And during this, the sister of Richard, the one who is deceased, says this was in fact murder. And of course, she ends up being found murdered the next day. So, I'm very interested in this plot already. It sounds very intriguing to me, and I can't wait to see what happens. So, please let me know if you've read this one, but don't tell me, of course, the ending. And while she has several standalone stories and she has Miss Marple's, this is, of course, with her most famous detective, Hercule Poirot, and those tend to be my favorites, other than In the Nun, which is my absolute favorite so far. Next up, we have one that I have never heard of before, and I think that this actually could be like a young teen novel. I know that somebody in the comments said they had started reading more young adult mysteries. And so I definitely think this could fall in that because I did, in fact, get it at a middle school book fair, but it looks really good. It's called In the Hall with a Knife, a Clue mystery, which also makes me think that maybe this is part of a series because I love Clue and so many things are based on the game of Clue. You have the movie Clue, which I am definitely going to do a video over, but I'm interested to see if there are other books in this series. So it says on the back of the cover, one storm will change their lives forever if they survive the night. When a killer storm strikes at Black Book Academy, an elite prep school nestled in the woods of Maine, a motley crew of students are left stranded in the aristocratic mansion of campus with their headmaster. Hours later, his lifeless body is discovered in a pool of blood, and everyone has a motive for murder. So it is set in this prep school academy, and so I definitely think that this is probably going to be appropriate for a younger reader. I will let you know for sure once I read it. But I'm really interested, even though it does seem to have maybe teenagers as the main characters. It sounds like a really good plot. So I'm very, very interested in this book. Next up is a classic murder she wrote. It's actually the second book in the series called Hooray for Homicide. Now, most of the Murder She Wrote books, I have a lot in this series, and there are a lot. One of the biggest series, if you've never read Cozy Mysteries, Murder She Wrote books, they're really good. There's a lot of them. Most of them are going to retail for your typical $7, $8 in mass market paperback. But this is an original copy that I have from like 1985, and it has Angela Lansbury's pictures on the cover, as all the books really do. But this one was really, really expensive, but I love collecting mystery books. I actually have this one and the number one, The Murder of Sherlock Holmes, which I've already read. But these are way more expensive than the ones you would get now. So my copy looks pretty beaten up. It's definitely been used, but it's really cool to have. And I'm excited to read it because it is the second in the series. And while Jessica Fletcher is busy slaying her latest victim in her, fictional series, of course, 2 real-life homicides turn up once more. From scribbling to snooping she goes. And so the first murder blows in with a hurricane and docks a baffling conundrum right in the local harbor. And then no sooner does she solve one homicide than another one happens. And so I'm really excited to see this. And I'm wondering once I get started if there has been an episode based on this, because The Murder of Sherlock Holmes is in fact, the book is based on the very first Murder, She Wrote episode. So maybe I've seen it. I'm not sure. I'm hoping not, so that I don't know once I start reading who the killer is, but I'm really excited to read this. Next up is one that, again, I hadn't heard of until I started researching, good mysteries to read, and The Golden Spoon kept popping up, and it has 3.9 stars on Amazon out of about 2,700 reviews. So I've seen better reviews, but when I start to dive a little bit deeper, it does seem like people do actually like this book, and it's kind of like Clue, they say, and The Great British Bake Off combined. And so and it also says Only Murders in the Building meets The Maid. And you all know, if you've watched my videos, I love Clue. I love Only Murders in the Building. So I definitely want to try it. Apparently, there is always this baking competition at this Vermont estate during Bake Week where they film this show. And they get there and they meet the host, and something is really off. And it's called A Sharp and Suspenseful Thriller for Mystery Buffs and Avid Bakers, which I am not, but I am a mystery buff. And so it also says that there are shocking twists and turns. And so I'm really excited to read this. I'm hoping it is the cozy mystery, but also, again, I don't think it looks like part of a series or anything. I'm going to have to delve more into that, but it seems to be on a popular list right now. Next up, we have one that continues to get rave reviews, not just from the book, but the author as well. A book by Anthony Horowitz, The Word is Murder, a novel. And I'm excited to hopefully love this, because it does seem like there are a few more books by this author. And again, every review that I have read about this author is fantastic. And so I'm super excited. I always love when I find a good new author. But it says here on Amazon that a woman crosses a London street. It is just after 11 a.m. on a bright spring morning, and she is going into a funeral parlor to plan her own service. 6 hours later, the woman is dead, strangled with a crimson curtain cord in her own home. Now, if that doesn't get you intrigued, I don't know what would. That sounds really good to me. And based on the Amazon reviews, it has a 4.3, and there are over 19,000 reviews. So apparently this is a really popular book, and I may even start with this one as soon as it comes in. I don't have this one yet, but I want to read this one really soon. Then we have what looks like a really fun new murder mystery series for me, Ashes to Ashes, Crust to Crust, excuse me. And apparently this is the second book in Mindy Quigley's Deep Dish Mystery series, which is set in a Wisconsin pizzeria. So again, I'm always looking for a new author that I like. I'm always looking for a good series. I love when I get a hold of a good series. And so that was one reason that I picked this one. And so this newly single pizzeria owner is determined to keep her restaurant afloat in the picturesque resort town of Geneva Bay, Wisconsin. To boost her bottom line, she sets her sights on winning the hefty cash prize in the town's annual Taste of Wisconsin culinary contest. In her corner, she's got her strong-willed, big-boned cat Butterball, her wisecracking BFF, her cantankerous great aunt, and a nearly flawless recipe for pretzel crush deep dish bratwurst pizza. But while she and her team have been focused on pumping out perfect pizza pies, her ex-fiance has cozied up to a new squeeze, juice bar owner Jordan Watts, her contest rival, of course. And when one of Jordan's juice bar customers is poisoned by a tainted smoothie, Delilah lands deep in the sauce. Accusations fly, suspects abound, and a menacing stranger turns up with a beef over some missing dough. And so, out of all the ones on my list, I don't know how I feel about this one, like expectation-wise. I hope it's not too forced or too corny. I love a good cozy mystery, but I'm not putting this at the top of my list, but I'm really excited about it at the same time. It looks pretty fun. So again, if you've read this one or one of the ones in this series, let me know what you think about it. How is the writing in general? How is the plot? Is it a strong plot? That's, I think, what I'm mostly afraid of, but it still looks pretty good, so I'm excited about it. The next one I have seen a lot, and I don't know for what reason I never really picked it up or thought it looked as great as it apparently is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. So I think this is the first book of a 4-book series. He also apparently wrote We Solve Murders, which I think I'm going to put on a list at some point, but I absolutely think that the premise of this is just so cute. In a peaceful retirement village, 4 unlikely friends meet weekly in the Jigsaw Room to discuss unsolved crimes, and they call themselves the Thursday Murder Club. And so I think that is just such a cool idea. And then the actual plot is that when a local developer is found dead with a mysterious photograph, staff, the Thursday Murder Club suddenly find themselves in the middle of their first live case. So I am really excited. This is definitely on the top of my list as well. And even just looking at Amazon, it has a 4.3-star rating. But the kicker is that there are 156,000 reviews on this book. So I think there definitely has to be something good to this. And I'm really excited. And I think it sounds like it could have maybe some humor in it too, which is going to be great. The next book I also found just while searching, good mystery reads. And it says that this is a combination for fans who love Anthony Horowitz, which I have not read, but we talked about a minute ago, and Agatha Christie, and we know how I feel about her. And this is by Ellie Griffiths, and it's called The Postscript Murders. Again, it has a 4.4-star rating on Amazon with over 11,000 reviews, and this is from an international bestseller. And so I definitely, again, think that there has to be something good to this book. It says, the death of a 90-year-old woman with a heart condition should not be suspicious, but Detective Sergeant Harbinger Carr certainly sees nothing out of the ordinary when Peggy's caretaker, Natalka, begins to recount Peggy Smith's passing. But Natalka had a reason to be at the police station. While clearing out Peggy's flat, she noticed an unusual number of crime novels, all dedicated to Peggy, and each psychological thriller included a mysterious postscript, P.S. for P.S. When a gunman breaks into the flat to steal a book and its author is found dead shortly thereafter, Detective Carr begins to think that perhaps there is no such thing as an unsuspicious death after all. So the plot of this one sounds really good, really strong. Again, reviews, which you can't always go based on reviews, but I think for someone to leave a review, you usually either really love it or really hate it. And so I think that so many people are taking the time to review this, and it's popping up again on so many lists that this is definitely going to be one worth checking out. And then finally, we have The Fudge Cupcake Murders. I think I have mentioned the Murder, She Baked Hannah Swensen series books before. I've done several videos on the Hallmark Murder, She Baked series, which I do really, really like. The books have not been my favorite in the cozy mystery genre, just because sometimes the writing, again, nothing, bad toward the author or anything. They're still really fun books, but sometimes it seems a little bit forced with the dialogue, and I cannot cook or bake or anything. So having the recipes in there doesn't really entice me at all. I think it's a cool, fun idea that they're scattered throughout the book. But I want to read this one because that is what my favorite Murder, She Baked movie is based on, is The Fudge Cupcake Murders, where the police chief is found dead, and of course Hannah finds the body, and then her brother-in-law becomes a suspect, and it is one of my favorite movies, and so I want to give the book a try and see what it is like. So I am, even though it's not been my favorite series so far, excited to read it, and also excited to match it up with the movie to see how much coincides. So that's it. That's my list. That's a lot of books in kind of a short amount of time for me. If you read a lot and you have a lot of time to do that, then this probably wouldn't seem so bad. But I don't know. I'm hoping that I'm not so busy that I can't fit all of these in before I start my Christmas list, which I am going to do a video on, because I also love Christmas mysteries. They're like my favorite. So I have several of those lined up as well. But if you have read any of these, please let me know which ones you think are best, which ones are worth my time. If you have others that you would recommend, by all means, please let me know, especially if there's any that you would like to see on the Christmas reading list. Thank you again, as always, for watching and supporting the channel. It is appreciated more than you know. I hope everyone has a great day, and as always, stay mysterious.